안녕하세요, 여러분.
Howdy, everybody.
Hello and welcome back to climatehope.us. We're collecting 100 stories of joy, hope, and climate action, infusing joy into the conversation on ending the climate crisis and ending racism. I have the pleasure today of being with my friend, Michael Wynn. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Elma. How are you?
I'm so glad that you were interested in this story project. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you and your interest in climate hope?
Sure. Well, thanks again for inviting me. I am here based in San Francisco. I'm an activist, a community organizer, an attorney by day, but at night sometimes I'm a drag queen by my alter ego, Juicy Lou. And yeah, I really think about when I was thinking about this project, I was thinking about how it really is our shared humanity that and believing in each other and inspiring each other to take some action on climate change, because climate change is here, it's happening, and the only way we can move forward is if we're all moving forward together. So I'm excited to talk to you today.
That's great. That's actually exactly why we're doing this project, is to bring people together and help inspire each other to kind of keep moving forward on this really important issue. So let's ask you the question, which is what is one of your greatest joys and how is it connected to action to end the climate crisis?
Well, thanks for that question. I think whenever I think of joy, I think of something that makes my heart sing. And one of the things that makes my heart sing the most is really drag, to be honest. Drag makes my heart sing. Community building makes my heart sing. When you're literally just surrounded by your community, taking action together by just first like congregating with each other and moving towards a goal together, just kind of thinking about it together, thinking as community. That is really what gives me joy in my life. And how it's connected, I would say, to climate change is like I'm very involved in a nonprofit here in San Francisco called Livable City. We believe in a San Francisco where walking, biking, taking public transit is the best way to get around in San Francisco. San Francisco of more green open spaces, beautifully built infrastructure, housing. And I'll just say this, I am not a planner, right? I am not a urban planner by design, but I am definitely a person who believes in the beauty of cities and the joy of living in a city. So for me, Livable City is how I do my climate justice work. We run Sunday Streets, which is the largest, it's our open streets program here in San Francisco, where we do 15 miles of about a year of car-free streets. And really cars are, the big, huge polluter here in the world. And I think if we can mode shift to a different world where streets are not just for cars, streets are actually for people. I think that is the way we're going to think and get around climate change.
So that's lovely. I would love to hear more about what this vision would look like if we are building a livable city where we're reducing the number of cars and where there's more people. I mean, one of the things that I've seen you do that you are joyful about is bringing people together. So, what's one of your visions of kind of like what that could look like in terms of how people interact and the kind of life and community that you have in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think so many things can be done when we're all thinking about how we can live and interact with each other in a way that is safe, in a way that people feel seen, heard, and celebrated. It's kind of the intersection of my queer activism with Kids Happy Week, and I'm sitting on the advisory committee for San Francisco Human Rights Commission as the LGBTQI+ advisory committee. And so for me, the vision of a more livable city for everyone is sort of where everyone can afford to live in San Francisco within their means, where housing is plentiful, affordable, where you can go within a 15-minute either bike ride, walk, or public transit to everything that you need. So commercial quarters are accessible. you don't have to rely on a car. And I live up in Twin Peaks in San Francisco, which it can be a little bit stressful as far as like getting around because of the hills, right? But like
Mhm.
if with more plentiful biking, protected bike paths, you know, all these things that can make the city more livable. And so, which was exciting to be part of Livable City because they do a lot of, they're kind of like the people's planner, right? And so we did away with alternative minimum parking requirements. Sorry, so minimum parking requirements, meaning that like for housing, this is very gonna get wonky really fast, but like housing, like new housing doesn't have to have any minimum parking requirements anymore attached to like an apartment, which means the developers can make it for cheaper now. So they don't have to build like big, huge parking structures, basically
Oh.
housing
Mhm.
for cars, as we say, like no
Mhm.
parking
Mhm.
lots, like how about housing for people instead of housing for cars? So that's one of the big policy pushes that was achieved through Livable City in the background with our advocacy. Another huge thing is basically trying to make a mode shift, right? Like trying to get people out of the idea of like having to use a car to get to places. And
Mhm.
one of those places is JFK. So car-free JFK was a
Mhm.
big, huge to do here in San Francisco. Now it's JFK Promenade, where people can walk through Golden Gate Park and enjoy the park that way. I mean, I hate to say it, but the pandemic was actually a huge helper in creating a mode shift. People figured
Mhm.
out that they could actually walk around, they could take a
Mhm.
bike, they could,
Mhm.
get around on public transit, not having to use their car. And I think they realized that like we are lucky to live outside here in San Francisco and enjoy restaurants, enjoy parks, and have recreation. And so I think just that part of it is an amazing part of Livable City's work.
I'm so glad that you're talking kind of more in depth about how we think about potentially living without cars, kind of on a day-to-day basis. Transportation, of course, is one of the biggest pieces of the climate emergency puzzle. And if we can figure out how to bring transportation to the point where we have zero emissions,
Mhm,
that is one of that's one of the big pieces. There's energy, the energy grid, and there's transportation.
mhm,
We use petroleum to fuel many of our cars, although there's a strong movement towards electric vehicles. But we also see it in communities of color and poor communities. A lot of them actually get a lot of the emissions from cars. So we actually see this in the Bayview Hunters Point. There's a big movement for environmental justice
mhm.
because that neighborhood is near two of the biggest freeways that come into
Yeah.
San Francisco. So all of these layers of kind of ending classism and ending racism, they're all related to kind of where we're trying to go. And there's this wonderful chapter in Project Drawdown that's about how to build the kind of places we want to live free of cars. So I really admire your work and your commitment and your passion towards that. And also, it's so you, just in terms of like building the kind of city where people are joyful and they're interacting and they're thriving.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the dream would be, and this is just my own selfish dream of an like a social housing or more permanently more affordable housing, like big structure where there's, a theater, there's a drag performances, there's like intergenerational dialogue, there's people working together to end the climate crisis, right?
Yeah.
All in one building and
Mhm.
really thinking about the LGBTQ community just generally, only because this probably just happened, but that's what's on my mind. But like I think our community is so well positioned to be the active players in the movement of cross movement solidarity. But like climate justice is a queer issue, okay? Like
Yeah.
it affects us, and so if we are movers and shakers, and we will not like let things just sit idly by. We
Mhm.
see injustice, we make things happen. And so I think part of the organizing that I am proud of you and so thankful for your work in bringing us together around this issue is that we need more folks in our community to be more visible and more active and take more of a leadership position. As the current vice president of Livable City, I only have been learning by osmosis by putting myself out there on that board,
Mhm.
right? But then also just being upfront and out there in the public around these issues. And I think the more that folks in our community who will be willing to take whatever leap they need to take to just be out there in front. And like, maybe you don't know everything, but you're willing to learn. I think that is the most important thing for our community.
So just because of time, we're going to bring this conversation to a close, but any last words or thoughts? I mean, one of the things that happens around climate is it feels so big and it can feel dark and depressing, but this is about infusing joy into that conversation and moving us forward. So any last words of inspiration for our
I
audience?
Yeah, I'd say because my drag persona is Juicy Lou. In everything that I do, in all of my organizing, I think about it. It's like, how can I make this juicier? Like, how can I keep it juicy? And so, like, to me, it's like you got to find what makes you like want to just get up and do things, right? Just motivated, excited to move things forward, and find your juice. I would say, whatever it is, and it could be, start first with whoever you're around. So your friends, if you go to church, your congregation, if you go, at work, whatever you do, and let it just be part of your DNA where it just flows. And that way it doesn't feel so gigantic. But like we have to rely on each other to be, individual organizers, individual activists, and then collectively we can all move forward together. So that's what we keep it juicy. That's what I would say.
Keep it juicy. You heard it from Juicy Lou. Michael Wen, thank you for your time and for your passion and your commitment. Thank you for coming and visiting us at climatehope.us, and we will see you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.